To be blessed. We know that's something that we all strive for in our lives. And when we think about the definition of a blessing, that might be good for us to call one to mind right now. I'm not going to ask you for your definition, but I think it's good for us to think of what it means to be blessed. And I believe that certainly blessing is something that we desire. It is something that is very positive. And when we think about someone who is blessed, in the best way, we are a little envious of them because we too want to be blessed by God. And when we think about blessings in today's scriptures from Matthew, we think about them in a way that Jesus turns that definition of blessing a little bit on its head. Because when we think about being blessed, we think about it as being a good fortune. But what Jesus is saying to us are blessed are they who mourn. Who wants to be mournful? But Jesus says, if we are blessed. Jesus tells us that being meek is a blessing, that when we hunger and thirst for what is right, that also is a blessing. He tells us that when we show mercy, we are blessed. When we have a pure heart, that we are blessed. When we are peacemakers, and when we are even persecuted for doing what is right, that also is a blessing. Now, for those first people that were listening to this sermon on the seas of Galilee, on this beautiful hillside that overlooks the sea, which is about, a lake. You can see across it. It's a very beautiful place. I had the chance to be there. And imagine those first hearers thinking like, what in the world is Jesus talking about? How could it possibly be that these things are blessings? For a Jewish person who is hearing this, they're thinking about, well, that I have enough to eat, that I have enough wealth to provide for my family. Their understanding of blessing would be very similar to our own. But Jesus, as he begins his public ministry, is saying to us, but God blesses us in a different way. For when we are poor in spirit, when we're mournful, when we're meek, when we hunger and thirst for what is right, when we show mercy, when we have a pure heart, when we're peacemakers, and when we are willing to be persecuted for our faith, therein lies blessing. And we are rewarded by these blessings, Jesus says in the last sentence of the gospel, because our reward will be great in heaven. That when we endure these things with joy, when we have mercy and compassion for others, when we do the right thing even when it's difficult, when we are empathetic, when we have that heart that aligns our heart with another and we place ourselves in their shoes, that's when blessing comes to us. On Tuesdays, we generally have our staff meetings, and we always start with the gospel of the week ahead. And as we were reflecting as a staff on this particular gospel reading, one that is very prominent and popular that we know of called the Beatitudes. The whole staff thought first, and I certainly would encourage us to do so, that this might be a good examination of conscience for us. It might be good for us to take this home with us. It's always easy to find the readings online now. Take it home with us. Don't rip it out of the missalette, though. Don't do that. But find it. It's in the first part of Matthew's gospel, said the Beatitude, and read it again. And how are we doing with that? Do we think that those are blessings? Are we aligning ourselves with Jesus? The other thing that really came to light is how our culture doesn't really uphold these as blessings so much, and how we as Catholic Christians are swimming in an ocean where there are a lot of other sharks around trying to say, don't be like that. Who wants to be meek? What kind of benefit is there with that? Who wants to be a peacemaker? What kind of blessing is that? Who wants to be persecuted for doing what's right? Who wants to do that? It's a wonderful thing for us to appreciate and really understand that this is the life that Jesus wants us to live and to lead. Our school here at St.Joseph Parish, every 4 years we go through an accreditation process. We're accredited by the state of Ohio. We have a charter from them as an independent Catholic school. And there's always a religious component to our accreditation. And one of the things that we're doing is every year we look at 2 of the Beatitudes. So this year we're looking at Beatitude 3 and 4. And to really instill this attitude of being into our young people, and hopefully it trickles upward to their parents, about being meek and about thirsting for what is right. There's no greater values, Jesus says, and in fact, it is the path to heaven where our reward will be great. So may we grasp a hold of these first teachings of Jesus, these teachings that he invited his early disciples to listen to. And he invites us today to do the same. May we be blessed by God for our love and our compassion, our willingness to live our faith each and every day. Because Jesus reassures us and tells us, rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven. Amen.